Hello, and welcome to the second video on the ZPP, the zero product property. Today we're going to add the extra step of going through and either playing the game or the AC method to factor these things, and then we'll use the ZPP to solve. So, when we start off by looking at the first one here, we're going to look and see that, well, we need two numbers to multiply to 6, but add to 7. And we notice here that the signs are the same, so we're going to find the sum. All right, so when I look at it, what numbers have a sum of 7 but multiply to 6? That will be 1 and 6. So I'll set up my two parentheses, x plus 1, x plus 6. But now we need to make sure we keep the equals 0 part here. All right, I got these signs inside the parentheses by realizing the C is positive, so that tells us the signs are the same. And the middle sign is positive, so they're both positive. Now I'm just going to set each of the parentheses equal to 0. That's the ZPP, or the zero product property. All right, so for the first one, I'm going to subtract 1, and I get x equals -1. Or we're going to solve the second one, so we have x plus 6 equals 0. We're going to minus 6 on each side, so we get x equals -6. So those are our two solutions to the first one. Okay? All right, for number 2 here, as we go through it, all right, this one's a little bit different, but it's the same process as playing the game. We need two numbers to multiply to -25, but add to 0. All right, so when we do the factors of 25, once again, we're just going to do the factors of them. We don't need to worry about our signs. Okay. The sign of our C value is negative, so that's going to tell us the signs are different. And when the signs are different, we find the difference. Well, which numbers here have a difference of 0? 5 and 5. So we'd set up our parentheses of x plus 5 and x minus 5. And then we'd set each of these parentheses equal to 0, and that's using the zero product property. So we have x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. So for the first one here, we have x plus 5 equals 0, so we're going to subtract 5 from each side. Right, and then we have x equals -5. Or we're going to solve the second one here. If x minus 5 equals 0, we're going to add 5 to each side. So we have our two solutions here, x equals -5 or x equals +5. Okay. All right, we have two more problems, and there's 2 U-tries for you guys. All right, so when we look at number 3, we need two numbers to multiply to -20, but add to -8. Okay, so I'm still going to go through and I'm going to do my factors of 20. Okay, so now when we do this, right, our C value is negative, so that tells us the signs are going to be different. So we're going to find the difference here of 8, or -8. When we look at it, 2 and 10 have a difference of 8. So we'll put 2 here and 10 here. And remember here, we still need the equal 0. But now remember our rule that the middle sign goes with the bigger number. Which one's bigger, 10 or 2? Well, 10 is, so that's a negative, and 2 is positive. So now that we have both of our parentheses set up, we can now use the zero product property. So we're going to set x plus 2 equal to 0 and x minus 10 equal to 0. Okay? So when we go through and solve the first one, we subtract 2 on each side. And we have x equals -2. That's one of our solutions. Or we solve x minus 10 equal to 0. To get the 10 to the other side of the equal sign, we would add 10. and get x equals 10. So there's our two solutions. So for number 3, x equals -2 or x equals 10. If we were to plug either of those back into the equation, it makes our equation true. Okay, number 4 is another one of our ways to factor. Remember, this is the coolest way to factor, aka the AC method. So when we use the AC method, we would take our a, which is 4, and multiply it by -15. So that would give us -60. And remember, we're going to add these two things to equal -4. Okay? So our factors of 60, 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. So this one has a lot of factors of 60, all right, but it's still good to practice and go through which ones are which here. So when we do this, our sign is a negative, so the signs are going to be different. So we want to find the difference. Which ones here have a difference of 4? That would be down here at 6 and 10. Okay, so when we write this, remember with the AC method, we rewrite our A value. All right, it doesn't matter which one we write here, but we need to realize that the 6 is going to be positive and the 10 is going to be negative. Then we write our C value equals 0. So remember, with the AC method, instead of putting in parentheses, we just write them as this part here. Now, we're going to factor by grouping. All right, we need to realize, well, what does 4x squared and 6x have in common? They have a 2x in common, and that leaves us with 2x plus 3. Now we notice in our second parenthesis, it's a negative here, but we want it to be a positive, so we should probably factor out a negative here. And we need to think, well, what does -10 and -15 have in common? They have a -5, and that's going to leave us with, sorry, let me rewrite that. All right, that's going to leave us with 2x, and then -5 times 3 is -15. All right, remember we want our parentheses to be the same, which is what we want. Okay, so we have 2x plus 3 as our one parenthesis, and then what are our leftovers? 2x minus 5. Okay, so now we're just going to set up our two parentheses here, or two things equal to 0. 2x plus 3 equals 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. Okay. All right, so for the first one here, all right, we're going to subtract 3. I ran out of room, so I'm going to move this down here. So we have 2x equals -3. I now need to divide each side by 2. So x equals -3/2. That's our first one. And then our second one here, we have 2x minus 5 equals 0. So we're going to add 5 to each side. And then we'd have 2x equals 5. And now we're going to divide each side by 2. So x equals 5/2. All right, it's just easier to keep these as fractions so you don't even have to worry about a calculator. All right, so we have that. All right, so what we'd like you to do is try the 2 U tries. All right, you have number 1 here, which is x squared minus 6x plus 9, and number 2, which is x squared minus 49 equals 0. All right, if you need more space, you can do it on the back of the page or somewhere else. All right, that is a video for the ZPP Day 2 video. If you have any questions, please let us know. Have a great day. We'll talk to you guys soon.